They thought it was just another evening on the ranch, a simple family dinner, nothing out of the ordinary. But beneath the calm surface of Heartland's golden fields, something extraordinary was about to unfold. Amy Fleming, the woman who has carried the heart of the ranch through storms and sunshine, was about to change her life forever. And the one by her side for this life-changing moment? None other than Caleb Odell, the rugged cowboy who had been a constant in her story for years. What no one knew was that the two had been quietly planning something so intimate, so unexpected, it would leave every member of the family speechless. In the days leading up to the Heartland Season 19 premiere, life seemed to be moving in its usual rhythm. Horses still needed tending, fences needed mending, and the ranch remained a steady hum of hard work. Amy had been her usual self, focused, calm, with that quiet strength she was known for. Caleb, too, seemed to be the same old Caleb, cracking jokes, working alongside the family, and stepping in whenever someone needed a hand. But if you looked closely, there were moments, fleeting glances between them, quiet conversations that ended with smiles, clues that hinted at something deeper brewing. It had all started months earlier. After years of friendship shared, struggles, and unexpected moments of comfort, Amy and Caleb found themselves growing closer. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't rushed. It was the slow kind of connection that builds quietly, the way the sun slowly warms the earth in the morning. They bonded over long rides across the ranch, over shared memories of those they'd lost, and over the deep understanding that comes from truly knowing someone's past and still wanting to be part of their future. By the time the premiere's timeline rolled around, Amy had already made her choice. She didn't want a grand, public wedding with endless planning and a spotlight that felt too heavy. She wanted something real, something rooted in the land and the people she loved most. Caleb agreed without hesitation. And so, together, they began crafting the perfect plan, a surprise wedding that would unfold right under everyone's noses. The plan was simple, but brilliant. Lou would think she was helping organize a family dinner to celebrate the end of a busy season. Jack, busy as ever, would have no reason to suspect anything. Even Tim, always the first to pick up on shifts in the air, was distracted with his own projects. And so, the days passed without anyone catching on. Amy and Caleb quietly picked a spot, right by the old oak tree near the barn, where the evening light hit just right. Caleb found a local musician to play soft tunes, and Amy arranged for flowers to be delivered the morning of the dinner, disguised as a thank you from a ranch client. The night before the big reveal, Amy stood in her room, her wedding dress hanging in the corner. It wasn't flashy, just a simple, elegant gown that felt like her. She ran her fingers over the fabric and thought of all the moments that had brought her here. Ty's memory was strong in her heart, and she knew he would want her to find happiness again. This wedding wasn't about forgetting the past. It was about embracing the future with someone who understood every layer of her story. Meanwhile, Caleb rehearsed his words. He wasn't one for fancy speeches, but he wanted Amy to know exactly how much she meant to him. His mind wandered back to their first conversations, to the times she'd helped him through tough situations, to the way her laughter could turn the hardest day around. Tomorrow she would be his wife, and that thought filled him with a mix of nerves and pure joy. By the time the sun began to set on the day of the premiere, the ranch was bathed in a warm, golden glow. Family members gathered, completely unaware of what was about to happen. Laughter floated through the air, plates clinked, and the smell of home-cooked food lingered in the breeze. Amy caught Caleb's eye from across the table, and in that silent exchange, they both knew the moment had come. The clinking of glasses and the hum of conversation filled the air. But then, almost like a scene from a dream, the evening took a turn no one saw coming. Lou was in the middle of telling a story about a recent business trip when the soft strum of a guitar floated across the yard. Conversations began to trail off. People turned their heads, curious. The lights hanging above the ranch yard flickered, just a little brighter, casting a warm, golden glow over the scene. And then, from the side of the barn, Amy appeared, not in her usual jeans and boots, but in a simple, elegant white dress that shimmered in the fading light. For a moment, there was complete silence. Jack's fork froze halfway to his mouth. Lou's jaw dropped. Tim's brows furrowed in confusion before his eyes widened with realization. Caleb stepped forward, dressed in a crisp suit, his smile soft but certain. The air seemed to shift. The easy, casual dinner had transformed into something entirely different. Lou was the first to speak, her voice trembling. "Amy, what is this?" But Amy didn't answer with words right away. Instead, she walked toward Caleb, her steps slow and sure, her gaze never leaving his. The musician's melody wrapped around the moment like a ribbon, and then Amy finally spoke, her voice calm but full of emotion. "This is our wedding," gasps broke out among the family. Jack's eyes saw his expression moving from shock to a slow, proud smile. Lisa reached for his hand. Georgie, who had been leaning against the fence, covered her mouth, her eyes already glistening. Even Tim, who often hid his feelings behind sarcasm, couldn't stop the quiet flicker of a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Caleb turned to address everyone. "We've been keeping this to ourselves for a while now," he began, his voice carrying that steady, grounded tone he always had. "We didn't want a big spectacle, we just wanted a moment with all of you, the people who matter most. This ranch, this family, it's been a part of both our lives for so long. And we couldn't imagine starting this new chapter anywhere else." The realization began to sink in for everyone. Lou's hand flew to her chest as she whispered, "You planned all this without me knowing?" Amy laughed softly, a warm sound. That seemed to break the tension. "It wasn't easy," she admitted, "but I wanted to surprise you all. I wanted you to feel the same joy I've been carrying in my heart these past few weeks." Someone, maybe Georgie, let out a little cheer, and that was the spark that turned the stunned silence into applause. Guests moved instinctively, shifting chairs to make room in the center of the yard, where the makeshift altar had been quietly set up earlier. A simple archway stood there, draped in white fabric and fresh flowers that Amy had arranged that morning. It was understated but beautiful, perfectly in tune with the Heartland spirit. Caleb reached for Amy's hands, and in that moment the whole world seemed to fade away. The horses in the paddock stood quietly, as if they too were watching. The scent of fresh hay and wildflowers mixed with the cool evening air. Every detail felt like it belonged exactly where it was. Jack finally stood, clearing his throat. "Well," he said, his voice rough but full of warmth, "I reckon we'd better get on with it before someone changes their mind." Laughter rippled through the crowd, breaking the emotional tension and replacing it with something lighter, excitement, joy, and the shared knowledge that they were witnessing a moment that would be remembered for years to come. As Amy and Caleb moved toward the arch, the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The surprise had landed exactly as they'd hoped, with shock, joy, and the kind of heartfelt emotion that only comes from moments that feel entirely genuine. The gentle strumming of the guitar softened, replaced by a hush that settled over the yard as Amy and Caleb stood beneath the simple arch. A warm breeze drifted through, carrying the scent of fresh flowers and the faint hum of the ranch in the distance. The evening sky seemed to pause in its descent, as though even nature wanted to linger in this moment. All eyes were on them, but it didn't feel overwhelming. It felt safe, surrounded by the people who had shaped their lives. Amy took a deep breath, her fingers tightening around Caleb's. Her voice was steady, but her eyes glistened. "Caleb, we've walked through storms and sunshine on this ranch. We've been friends, we've been family, and somewhere along the way, you became the person I didn't want to imagine my life without. You've stood by me through moments I thought I wouldn't survive. You've been my strength when I needed it most. Today, in front of the people who mean the world to us, I promise to keep choosing you every single day." Caleb's smile was soft, his eyes never leaving hers. He cleared his throat, his voice carrying that deep, unshakable tone that always made his words feel grounded. "Amy, you've been the light in the darkest parts of my life. You've believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. You've shown me what it means to love without holding back." And I know this isn't the first chapter of either of our stories, but it's the start of our story together. I promise to stand beside you, no matter how rough the trail gets, and to never stop fighting for us. There was a moment where Amy's gaze shifted briefly upward, almost as if she was speaking silently to someone who wasn't there. The absence of Ty was felt in the air, unspoken but undeniable. Lou, sensing the weight of the moment, stepped forward holding a small horseshoe charm. "Amy asked me to bring this," she said, her voice breaking just slightly. "It belonged to Ty. She wanted him to be part of today." Is the collapsing portal the main threat? Or is it a distraction from something worse? Something already in Waverly Place? Is Harper a tragic figure caught between worlds, or the mastermind pulling the strings? By the time the footage ends, you're left with more questions than answers. A final shot shows Alex walking away from the substation at night, her wand left behind on the ground. The camera lingers on it as sparks slowly fade from the tip. It's a haunting image, and a chilling suggestion that by the end of Season 2, Alex may no longer want her magic at all. If the leaked trailer's biggest strength is its spectacle, its deepest hook is the way it hints at the characters' personal journeys. This isn't just another round of magical chaos for the Russo family. It's an emotional war that could fracture them in ways no spell can fix. And judging by what we've seen, every main character is heading into a storyline that will test their loyalty, their identity, and their very sense of self. Alex Russo, as always, is at the center of it all. In Season 1, she was the reluctant hero, powerful but unsure of her place in the magical world's new order. But in the leaked footage, her energy feels different. She's more guarded, her humor muted, her eyes carrying the weight of choices she hasn't told anyone about. There's one moment where she's alone in her bedroom, flipping through an old photo album, stopping on a picture of the Russo family in happier times. The shot is silent, but you can feel the ache, as if Alex is already preparing for a loss she can't prevent. It's a softer, more vulnerable side of her, but it's balanced by flashes of raw power, where her magic is almost too strong for her to control. If the rumors are true, part of her arc will revolve around a dangerous spell she cast in secret, one that's now attracting dark forces to Waverly Place. Justin's path looks even more complicated. The trailer shows him far from home, training with an elite magical order that operates outside the Council's laws. His robe is marked with a strange sigil we've never seen before, and his magic seems more precise, almost surgical. But the emotional distance between him and the family is unmistakable. In one leaked line of dialogue, he tells Alex, "If I come back now, everything we've built will fall apart." It's unclear whether he's protecting the family or hiding something from them, but his storyline screams of a character caught between duty and loyalty. Max's arc may be the most surprising. Once the comedic relief, the leak suggests he's stepping into a far darker place. That glowing mark on his chest isn't just a magical injury. Some fans think it's the result of an ancient curse tied to his bloodline. There's a quick scene where Max is in the substation's basement, carving protective runes into the walls, his hands shaking as the lights flicker around him. It's a haunting image of a character who might finally realize that the magic he once treated like a game is now a matter of life and death. Then there's Harper, or the version of Harper we think we're seeing. If that golden glowing figure in the cloak truly is her, it suggests a massive shift in her relationship with the Russos. Once their loyal friend and ally, the leak hints she's now walking a path that may put her directly at odds with them. Whether it's by her own choice or because of magical manipulation remains to be seen, but the tension is undeniable. There's even a blink and you miss it moment where Alex yells, "You don't have to do this," to someone off-screen, and given the cloak's presence in the next shot, many fans are convinced she's talking to Harper. The sibling dynamic is also set to change. Season 1 kept the humor and bickering intact, but this time it feels like the stakes will push the Russos to a breaking point. One scene shows Justin and Alex in a heated argument, their wands drawn, magical sparks flying between them as if they're seconds away from dueling. Another shows Max standing apart from them both watching with an expression that's more heartbreak than anger. These moments suggest that the family bond we've always relied on might not be strong enough to survive what's coming, and beneath all of this, there's a new layer of mystery. The trailer hints at an unseen figure pulling strings from the shadows, someone who knows the Russos well enough to exploit their weaknesses. Whether this is an old enemy returning or a brand new threat, it's clear that the personal stakes for each character are deeply intertwined with the fate of the magical world itself. For fans, that means Season 2 won't just be about flashy spells and epic showdowns, it'll be about watching characters we've loved for years face the kind of choices that could redefine who they are forever.